And although the company as itself was a success, he had several fuck-ups during those 8 years. And after exiting the company in 2015, he now sits here at Mesh and is the CEO of Experiments. And he told me that the whole company is an experiment in itself. And he gets to immerse himself with his affections, which is startups and growth engineering. Please welcome to the stage, Espen Grimstad.
Thank you. Some great fuck-ups here tonight. Hello, my name is Espen Grimstad. I'm an entrepreneur. And my story tonight starts when I'm in my mid-20s. After a couple of startups, I moved to New Zealand. I decided I want to go study and get an education, which I didn't have. And I go to the University of Auckland. I pack my bags, move there, and for 3 years, I think. And while I'm studying, I have a summer job, great gig at a rental car company over there. And the managers teach me about the logistical problem that they have, which is transferring cars between their branches. And it wasn't only their company, it's all over the world. All the rental car companies in the world has this problem where they have to position cars for new hires, and they have to transfer them because there's not a perfect balance between supply and demand between the branches. And what they did was that they use trucks and professional drivers to transfer these cars, and it's a huge cost and a big headache. So while I was studying and having that job, I was having this in the back of my mind. And I came to the idea, why don't we just make a website where we match rental car companies' needs for transferring these cars with flexible travelers who happen to be wanting to go that same way. They can get a free car. Rental car companies can save a lot of money on transportation costs, and we can charge rental car companies for finding these drivers. So this becomes the idea. And I'm really lucky at the university. I have a lot of resources. There's a lot of projects and innovation competitions and things like that. So I get to work with a lot of students who help me do the marketing research and build the MVPs and validate this whole idea. And we get to a point where I'm thinking, wow, this could maybe be something worth pursuing. So. But at the same time, I'm quite concerned. It's just me, and I feel like I need a co-founder. I'm I guess a little bit afraid. I've had some fuck-ups in my personal life, which makes me maybe not trust myself as much when it comes to the financial side of things. So I get to this idea that what I need is a co-founder that is the complete opposite of me. And I can tell you that that's a really, really bad idea. We become co-founders, and we didn't realize at the beginning that the chemistry is not very good, but we have some kind of the functional sides is a good match. But we are completely different when it comes to personality and politics and social interactions and interests and everything. And I guess we kind of just are so focused. We were running for a couple of grants and innovation competitions and stuff like that. And we were so focused on working on this business idea that we're just thinking, well, okay, we can leave this forever for later, and we'll work it out. But that didn't happen. Kind of completely the opposite. I just want to say one thing, and because this is it's a sensitive thing, because it is a real person, my co-founder, and he himself was super intelligent and driven and responsible and everything, and is a great co-founder for someone else. But we were a really bad match. So it's not a personal thing. But throughout this lack of trusting each other, we start building these mechanisms in the company. So as we're growing, we're kind of setting up these micromanagement systems and policies in place to hinder each other from doing things because we're not trusting each other. And one example is we built an HR manual when we had 5 people, and I remember we spent like a month on it together because we didn't trust each other to convey the right culture to new employees because we weren't always at the same geographical location. So we kind of build this barrier for ourselves. When we got to 5 or 6 people, we built this expense claim system because we didn't trust each other with expenses when we were abroad. It's just complete fuck up, and this keeps on going. So when we, as we were growing, we kept denying the fact that this were happening. We had these powwows, and we kind of sometimes we went out for dinner and we kind of talked things over, or got drunk together, and we kind of, oh yeah, it's going to work out this time. And then the next morning it was the exact same thing, and it just kept on. And as we were growing, as we were scaling, we were growing into Australia, and we were setting up this organizational structure where we were kind of pulling the company apart. We were driving in 2 different directions, and it's actually quite amazing that the company kept growing. The business model was very sound. That was the good thing, but we were not, and we should have gone to couples counseling or something like that. But we didn't. So we just kept on doing this. But the company grew at the stage where we were 200,000 drivers. We were huge in New Zealand, big in Australia. We were scaling up in the US. And we had Hertz and Avis and Budget, Europcar, all these big brands on board, and it's really good. But the US wasn't working too well. It was difficult, and it was slow. And we spent a couple of years kind of headbanging, trying to get into the US rental car market. But we couldn't get through, but then we got into the 500 startups, the accelerator program in Silicon Valley, and that's when things really went haywire. Because we got the 4 people in the management team, including my co-founder and myself, to move into this little apartment in Mountain View and to participate in a 3-month intensive acceleration program. And we really worked at it. We really tried. We worked 8-hour days working on sales and fundraising, but it didn't help because there was such a gridlock between me and my co-founder and it was a lot of arguments and sadness, and we kind of felt that this is hopeless. But 500 startups did open some doors. We got some VCs who were interested in investing in transfer car. And we were so excited, and then they came with the term sheets, and the term sheets said that the co-founder has to move to the US and work together for 3 years. And I couldn't believe it. It was just a gut-wrenching idea that after all this tiredness and frustration, we were going to have to be forced to continue working. And also I had a kid in Norway, and we just moved from New Zealand to settle down in Oslo. It wasn't really a great idea. But I played some big hands, a big hand in a very, very risky game. In my frustration, I called the board together and I say, here's an ultimatum. Either he leaves or I leave, and I'm not bluffing. And I'm not a transfer car anymore. The board didn't want to let any of us go, and I resigned, sold my shares, The VCs pulled out, and there was a bit of a sad chapter for TransferCar, at least the US side of it. But for me, it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. It was such a relief to get out of this gridlock and be able to focus on the future again. TransferCar is always going to be my baby, but someone else is doing that now. But if there's any kind of morale to this story, I would say don't waste your time spending it with people you don't get along with, especially a co-founder. Thank you.
Questions for Espen?
Is your co-founder still in that company? Is he still running it?
Yeah. Yes.
And how is it going?
I think I don't know the details anymore. I've been out of the company for a year, but I know they're doing really well in Australia and New Zealand, growing really strong. But I think the US, I'm not sure for sure. But when I left, there was thoughts about expanding into Europe as well. So I would really wish for that to happen because it's a great service and it's an awesome way to get around, get a free rental car. There's no better rental car than the free one.
What are the three things you will see for the next co-founder?
Well, maybe the opposite of last time. So it will certainly be. I'm now, you know, I think it was a mistake all along to look for someone that I didn't get along with. I mean, or not identify that. But I think that the drivenness. There does need to be a personal chemistry, and of course, but you have to have experience and skills. I think it depends on what type of co-founder. So it's a little bit hard to list three, but certainly I think everyone who's now part of any new venture I'm doing is definitely a good fit.
Do you have a question?
Oh, there's one question there for sure.
Yeah, have you ever talked to your co-founder again?
No.
No.
Question on this side.
Hey, if you could travel back in time, that would be amazing, though.
That's a business idea.
Yeah. Would you have left earlier, or are you glad that you had the experience you had staying that long that you did?
Well, I mean, I'm not too fond of the hindsight things because everyone would change something in hindsight. I think looking at how long it took to grow the company because we were having all brakes on because we were kind of putting all these hurdles in front of each other. I wouldn't have stayed for that long. I think we should have identified this within a year or two. Instead, it took 8 years. So it's. I guess I would left earlier if I knew that it would have continued because it's such a huge toll on the personal life, and my wife, but also my previous my ex-partners can all testify to how much agony it cost me and our family because I would stay up all night and couldn't sleep because I was so angry and furious because of all this frustration and planning all these ideas of how we can fix this by putting some other hurdles in the way and stuff like that. It's quite absorbing, self-absorbing.
We have a question over here.
Yeah, some people say you shouldn't start a company with a good friend or a friend. What's your point of view on that?
Well, the first startups I did, I was very concerned about that. I had a trainee position at something called Oslo Stamp and Coin Store when I was 17 years old, and everyone there was related to each other somehow. And I could just see the kind of chaos that created because there was so much personal stuff in the mix. And so I said, you should never mix family or friends or anything. I'm getting more and more and more into it, and now even me and my wife have some business ventures together. So as I get older, I get softer on that. Cool.